Well, hello and welcome back to Read Becca for my Orctober TBR, my to be read list. And after BookTube Prize reading, I've read for the past 2 rounds in nonfiction, which has been 4 months of reading very heavy nonfiction titles. I need a little light reading, I think, on my palette, and I had been thinking about this for a while, that I wanted to do some sort of Orctober reading. That is not a readathon. I'm not starting a readathon. As far as I know, nobody is running an Orctober readathon already. You're welcome to participate by also reading books with orcs. I kind of slightly stole the idea, yes, from the author of one of my books. Ash Armstrong used to do a push on an online bookish space, not BookTube, for people to pick up orc-related books and perhaps see the good side in orcs. And so I guess we'll start there with Ash Armstrong's book. This is A Demon in the Desert by Ash Armstrong. This is a weird Western series starring an orc who is a demon hunter. His name is Grimlock. So this is the Grimlock Demon Hunter series. So this is actually a stand-in. I want to reread the second book. I've read all 4 of the books that are out already, and these are a great time. They are perfect for spooky season because he is a demon hunter. The second book is my absolute favorite, and so I want to revisit it very much. I don't have a physical copy though. I only have it on ebook, despite it being my favorite. I've got the print books of the other 3. So I definitely want to try to get that reread in because I have enjoyed this series so very much. So he is my inspiration for diving into all things orcs this month. The next one is a perennial classic that this is like the book that comes up when people ask for orc recommendations. This is Grunts by Mary Gentle. It is a humorous orc book. I guess some of these are more or less humorous, but it's a pretty chunky mass market paperback, taking a look at a sword and sorcery from the bad guy's point of view and comedically looking at the struggles of being the bad guy, I think. So how that's gonna fill this massive paperback, I don't know. I would think it would be more episodic, but we will see. This is one that everybody speaks very highly of, so I definitely want to read it. And that's from my physical TBR shelf as well, so that's a great pick. Then we have The Grey Bastards, which I have already read, so this is not the book. This is a placeholder for the next book in the series. I want to continue on with this trilogy. It is a finished trilogy by Jonathan French. So I'm wanting to pick up The True Bastards, book number 2, in October, and then hopefully book 3 maybe by the end of the year. We'll see. We'll see if I can squeeze it in. But this is a very grim and gritty, I would say, a slight bit of humor to this one, but it's mostly kind of gritty, where we're following orcs who are in a biker gang riding actual hogs, and it has a very Son of Anarchy sort of tone, so that gets a comparison. It's like a fantasy Sons of Anarchy. And I got out of this book that this series is very much setting up a story about paradigm shift in a very oppressive world. And the world building underpinning that is just really well done. I loved that. So this was a great, if dark, book and kind of graphic at moments, but I really enjoyed it and I'm looking forward to continuing on. Then we have The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood, and this is also a completed duology. So the second book came out at the end of last year, and I have really been wanting to get to both of them. Ever since this one came out, I bought it pretty much right away. And this one, I have less than an idea of what it's about than the others, because everyone mentions that the entire blurb is basically the very beginning of the story. So that blurb is that we're following an orc priestess named Sorway, and Sorway is destined to be a human sacrifice, basically, or an orc sacrifice, I guess. And she ends up getting an offer from a mage to get away, get out of that. And so she does. So she runs off and escapes death narrowly. And from there, I guess that's the beginning of her story. I know there's also the aspect that everyone mentions that she is kind of a lesbian, or there's sapphic romance to this to some degree. It's definitely not a romantic fantasy from everything I've heard though, so I don't think that's going to be like a prominent thing to this. But I very much want to read the duology. Then I have ebooks. I've got just a couple of ebooks. So number one is one I've had since it came out in 2021, and I have not gotten to it. And now it's a really long series. I think there's like 6 entries in it. And that is the first in the Morkster Chef books by Arctis. And that is Cleaver's Edge. So as it says on the tin, this is a progression fantasy, I think, which has sort of skilling up elements and cooking competition in a fantasy world. So that's 100% all I need to know. I love anything to do with cooking in terms of like cooking competitions, its stories. So I'm really looking forward to see what that is. It has kept popping up on my Kindle and I'm like, oh, I need to get to that, and I never do. So we're gonna try to do that. The last one is one I just picked up, and that is The Orc and Her Bride by Lila Gwynn. This is a fantasy romance, with I think romance being the prominent element, featuring a sapphic romance with an orc. So I think it's going to be a great romantic story, sweep me away maybe, and a little bit of a palate cleanser. Well, really all of these are going to be palate cleansers, so I don't need any palate cleansers this month maybe. We will see. But so that is my Orcful list of options that I already own. Of course, I may find other things at the library because the library is always my siren song. I also would really like to pick up an orc graphic novel, but I don't have any in mind. So I'm going to need to look, or if you have any suggestions for graphic novels with orcs featured prominently, I would love to hear that because I definitely want to try to find one. So that is my Orctober to be read stack. It's going to be a really fun time, I think. So that is it for me today. Thank you so very much for watching.